2channel is a large anonymous message board in Japan, similar to Reddit or 4chan. It has had a significant impact on Japanese internet culture, creating memes and slang. This channel will mainly introduce occult content posted on 2channel. This is a story about a strange custom from my mother's hometown, a rural village in Shikoku, which I learned about only a few years ago. Our village has a peculiar tradition called Hakaso-ya, which is exclusive to women. There are different types of Hakaso-ya, but they generally fall into two categories. It's either used as a congratulatory phrase or refers to a protective charm. The congratulatory form is used, for example, instead of congratulations when a girl gets her first period or when an unmarried woman finds a boyfriend. The protective charm version of Hakaso-ya is a safe childbirth charm that a mother gives to her daughter when she is considered grown-up. For example, it's given when the daughter gets a job and moves away from home. What constitutes being grown-up varies from family to family. Sometimes it's when a girl gets her first period, or when she gets married or starts working. However, the common factor is that it's always a charm for safe childbirth whether the woman is pregnant or not, and usually she's not. One thing that both uses share is that they must always be done away from the eyes and ears of men. Since it's a women-only custom, if something celebratory happens in front of men, the women call the girl aside to a place like the kitchen and quietly say, "Hakaso-ya, Hakaso-ya," or when giving the charm, another woman will take over for a man. Hakaso-ya is thoroughly hidden from men. Most of the men in the village probably don't even know Hakaso-ya exists. When I was about to start living alone in Tokyo for university, my aunt gave me a Hakaso-ya charm. The reason it was from my aunt and not my mother is that my mother isn't very superstitious and dislikes old traditions like this. My mother had apparently received a Hakaso-ya from my grandmother, but she planned to stop the custom with her generation and not pass it on to me. In fact, my mother left the village because she hated such customs. My aunt, her younger sister, married locally and stayed in the village with my grandmother. However, my aunt said that it would be too sad for my grandmother, and besides, the city is a scary place, and every girl needs one. I later found out why my aunt said this, and it sent chills down my spine. So I reluctantly accepted it. The Hakaso-ya I received looked like a typical safe childbirth charm. It was pink. A month after moving to Tokyo, I found myself in a tough financial situation. It's a bit embarrassing, but compared to the quiet town I was from, the glamorous atmosphere of Tokyo had completely dazzled me. I spent all my money going to cafes, browsing shops, and finding nice restaurants, and before I knew it, I was broke. I hadn't found a part-time job yet, and I didn't want to ask for money from my family just a month after moving out, so I searched my apartment, hoping to find any spare cash, but I found nothing. Then I remembered the charm. You often hear stories where people put money inside charms to help in times of need, so I naively thought, maybe there's money in the Hakaso-ya, and decided to open it. However, there was no money inside. All I found was a piece of cardboard and a small old scrap of cloth. It was about 2 to 3 centimeters in size, made of coarse cotton or gauze, and half of it was stained brown. It was dried and stiff, and the fabric was wrinkled. The cloth seemed quite old, and the unstained part was yellowed. What on earth is this? I wondered. My thoughts drifted in strange directions. If you leave stained underwear from your period unattended, it hardens like this. The fabric gets wrinkled when it dries. Does that mean this is blood? But why would a charm for a grown-up woman contain a blood-stained scrap of cloth? The more I thought about it, the more curious I became. Eventually, I couldn't resist asking my mother about it, using the excuse of needing money to call her. My mother didn't even know I had received a Hakaso-ya from my aunt and seemed surprised. When I asked, "What is that cloth?" she replied in a quiet voice, Just be careful not to let anything bad happen, but she didn't explain any further. I couldn't let it go, so I called my aunt next. After some brief pleasantries, I quickly blurted out, "What is that cloth? What's the stain?" She responded casually, "Oh, it's blood. A girl's blood. Didn't your older cousin explain that Hakaso-ya is a charm to protect you from bad things men might do?" For a moment, I didn't understand what she meant. My aunt explained that, before Confucianism spread to Japan, sexual norms were quite free. People would casually borrow another man's wife as if borrowing something, and children born as a result were considered village children, raised communally. It was common for men to sneak into homes at night to have sex with women. As time passed, this way of thinking disappeared in most places, but in our village, this oppressive tradition for women remained. Because the village was isolated deep in the mountains, information spread slowly, and it was a poor region where nothing could be done during winter. There were no crops to tend, and no entertainment. It must have been an immense hardship for the women, who were subjected to the whims of many men, forced to bear children without knowing who the father was. So, to either vent their frustration or exact revenge on the men, the women created Hakaso-ya. The way Hakaso-ya is made. This shocked me. The midwives would wrap cotton cloth around their fingers and insert them into the vagina of a stillborn girl. When blood stained the cloth, they would wring it out and spread the blood over the entire piece. The cloth would then be cut into pieces small enough to fit inside a charm. This was the content of a Hakaso-ya charm. It was meant as a charm for a woman's chastity, to prevent rape, avoid unwanted pregnancies, and ensure a happy first sexual experience. The terrible part is, when there were fewer stillborn girls, they even used girls born of rape or whose paternity was uncertain. Hakaso-ya had another role. It was believed that if a woman was assaulted, she could cast a curse on the man to take revenge. There's a story of a woman who was raped by a man from the village. During the assault, she kept chanting Hakaso-ya, Hakaso-ya, and suddenly, the man vomited his organs and died. That's why Hakaso-ya is given to women when they become independent, so they can kill any man who harms them. I suddenly understood this, and it sent a shiver down my spine. Shocked, I asked, "So I've been using a curse word, thinking it meant congratulations?" My aunt hurriedly corrected me. Hakaso-ya only affects men. When used for women, it means, "May you experience a happy first time, so don't worry." But that's why men must never hear it. In the past, since sex before marriage was rare, Hakaso-ya was purely a blessing with no ill intent. I always thought the custom was strange when I returned to my mother's village, but I never imagined it had this kind of meaning. And the fact that the women of that village have been hiding it from the men all this time is terrifying. It's as if the whole village is united against men. Honestly, it feels creepy to carry around a charm with a random girl's bloodstained cloth in it. I'm not sure if it's okay to throw it away. I can't ask my aunt, and besides, I'm not even a virgin anymore. So maybe it's fine to let it go. But I still have it, and I'm not sure what to do.